Hello? Hello?
Hey, Scott.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Huh. Yeah, Scott, can you hear me? Hey, Scott, can you hear me? Hello? 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 Scott, can you hear me? No? Yeah, Scott, are you able to hear me?
Hey, man.
Hey, Scott, can you hear me?
I think you're unmute or you're muted there.
All right, cool. For some reason, my
There we go.
headphones aren't working. It should.
I think you're logged into the EmpowerEd account, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, really?
So both of
Can I
us.
change my name?
You can change your name on it. I guess it doesn't. It seems like, hey, Mary Ellen. It seems like it doesn't matter that we're both on the same account, but.
Okay. Sorry, yeah. I'm going to have to, like, get dinner started here in a little bit, so I
No
think from
worries.
the meeting, I'm going to have to just, like, listen.
That's fine.
But yeah, I'm here.
Hey, James.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. We're all just, hunkered down. Just,
Yeah. How
living
about
our
you, Marianne?
best.
I'm going crazy because I had to do moving this weekend, and I'm in the process of moving in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's terrible. You moved already?
I am in the process, so I'm going to be like listening a lot, but I still have to put things away before I pay $4,000 a month because I currently am moving in my building, but they said if I don't have everything moved out from my old unit by tomorrow night, that I have to pay $4,000 for this month.
Oh goodness.
Oh my God.
Not very forgiving.
Not to do that. I'm very much.
Hi, Mauricio. Hi, Lara.
Where are you moving to?
I'm actually in the same building. I live in Van Ness, Forest Hills. So I just literally moved down the hall to a bigger unit.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's not bad. It's just like not ideal to be moving in the middle of a pandemic. So
Yeah.
Can't have people to help you move, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like furniture and yeah.
Hey, Nicole. Hi, Lara. Hey, Christine. I think everyone is muted when you come in, so you just have to unmute to talk.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Nicole.
We'll give everyone 2 or 3 minutes before we start, but we just wanted to start with catching up, so feel free to share how things are going for you. Lara?
Yeah, I don't know any of you all.
Yeah.
One of my neighbors, oh gosh, her name is Liz, but I'm not remembering her last name, but she invited me to this group. I'm I'm the librarian at Oyster Adams Bilingual School in the pre-K through 3rd building.
That's great.
This is my 25th year.
Wow.
So, yeah. And I really love your mission. I haven't really been able to help in any way or support, but this is such a, I mean, within the horribleness of everything, it's such a great time to sort of connect with things that you've always wanted to.
Yeah.
Because we have so much less structure in our life now. So anyway, mucho gusto conocerlos a todos.
Gracias. Bienvenido. Thank you for joining us. Anyone else? Just checking in with folks as you join in, Nicole?
Just I'm hanging in there. Grabbing some dinner right now.
Awesome. Lots of people joining. Welcome, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Aisha, Valentina, Mauricio, Devon, Giselle, Isa. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
We're going to start in just a couple minutes. And when we do, we'll just do kind of a wraparound to start and just to check in on how everybody's doing. Obviously, this is a really weird time. I am really grateful, though, because I think this is going to give us an opportunity in some ways for folks who haven't been able to join before to just log on from their computer and get involved maybe for the first time and hear what we're up to. And really grateful for everything that you all are doing. Every time we're hearing, putting out a survey or getting emails or the text messages that I'm getting every day, I'm like, you guys are just going all out. The amazing things that teachers are doing right now is just incredible. And we put out a survey, some of you might have seen this week, to ask if anybody has projects that they want funded that they're doing for their students. And we've had about 35 so far submitted on there. So we're going to hope to raise funds for as much of that as we can, but just really cool to see all the stuff that people are doing. So I think we'll start with just kind of check-ins, and maybe I'll just call on folks, and just for the sake of time, we're going to try to keep this to an hour today. Just a few seconds of your name, your school, and something you're proud of, maybe that you or your school is doing right now during all this. So let me start with Isha.
Oh, I knew. Hold on, Ms. Richards. Hold on. I'm sorry. 1 second.
I can start with someone else.
Oh no, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I'm Aisha. I work
sorry.
at Mary. No, you're fine. I work at Mary McLeod Bethune Public Charter School. I am proud of. I guess I'm proud of my school being like ahead of the game, because we started to plan for like the distant learning maybe like 2 weeks, prior to. So, our students were kind of like caught up and on board kind of early.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm proud of. It's kind of a lot of work, but yeah.
Great. Go to Mauricio. Mauricio, are you there? I'll go to James.
Hey everyone, my name is James. I am an ESL teacher over at Center City Public Charter School at the Brightwood campus. And I think one thing that like it's been really cool is just seeing like all like the enrichment teachers like doing like weekly lessons. So whether it's like the PE teacher or the music teacher, it's just been like really cool seeing like how the arts are like really thriving right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Gregory.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gregory Brown. I am the music teacher at Imagine Hope Public Charter School, and we've been rocking and rolling since day one, and we're tired. Ready for spring break. One thing I am proud of us is that as soon as we were told, literally the entire staff just went online and literally organized everything, and the kids have been literally on since that next week, that next Monday, Tuesday. They've been in distance learning ever since. And so as a music teacher and with specials, we're rocking and rolling too. And the kids are really enjoying themselves. So really proud of our school for that.
Awesome. Devon.
Hi, I'm Devon. I am a reading interventionist for K-2 at Harmony DC Public Charter School. I'm really proud of the way they rolled the technology. They were actually delivering it to some families that couldn't get it. So we did a pretty good job of rolling out technology in an efficient kind of way.
Great. Isa.
I'm Isa. I'm a 4th grade all subjects teacher at H.D. Cook Elementary. And I'm really proud that all the kids who didn't have access to technology at home ended up getting it, because we kind of pooled all of our donors to Chromebooks together, and then did like when they came to pick up the next group of packets, we distributed those, and I think almost every single kid who needed a laptop got one.
That's great. Giselle, you there?
I'm right here, practicing her violin in the background.
Okay, no worries. You want to just introduce
sorry,
yourself?
what was the question? I'm also like in the process of wiping down everything. I made a Trader Joe's run today for me and my mother, and it's like a bunch to wipe down. Yeah.
Do your thing.
What was the question?
Name, school, something you're proud of your school is doing.
Yeah, Giselle Estrada, Linda Verde, public charter school. And piggybacking off of Isa, yeah, I was super proud of the way we were able to get technology devices to all of our students. There was like a number of communications that went out to families about picking up tech, and some of our families missed it, and so we like sent out another like blast and like opened the school again after like the Christmas shutdown day, just to make sure that everybody had that need.
Thank you. Liz Rosenberg.
Hi, I'm Liz. I teach kindergarten at Creative Minds Public Charter School. And I think my school is taking a very different approach from what I hear other schools are doing. We are not like on Zoom calls with our kids all day. We're like creating resources, sharing, and then recognizing everyone's in a different place. And parents are doing what they can. And so I'm just really proud of my school for not giving teachers busy work for the optics of looking like we're doing good work, but actually just having us do what makes sense for our kids, our grade level, ourselves as educators, and not falling into the trap of needing to look good to the outside stakeholders.
That's great. Christine.
Yes, I'm Christine Ray. I teach pre-K at Garrison, and my school similarly, we are giving lots of resources, but our principal has been really like talking to the families about just taking deep breaths. We will get through this, just focus on being together. And so we are definitely sending a lot of resources, but really focusing on those human connections as well. So like I FaceTime with all of my kids 3 times a week, individual connections, which is, I think, important and special.
It's what they want. Nicole.
Hello. I've just been really impressed with how willing a lot of teachers are to try something out of their comfort zone, and how I've noticed that a lot of my team is a very growth focused. So like if we post a video and it just doesn't work out, like everyone's pretty positive about it, and we're just rolling with the punches. So I'm happy to report that.
Awesome. Laura.
Well, I'm a librarian, and actually, I think it was something that Liz said that really resonated with me, which is sort of, meeting people where they are and allowing people to slowly move into this new kind of learning, as opposed to, just pushing it all out at once. And I am frankly not at all very good with technology, and it's kind of great because there's a librarian at our 4th through 8th grade campus who's great at it. So I'm a storyteller, so they have actually allowed me to record story times as if the kids were in the library. So I've done 3, 2 in English, 1 in Spanish, and I feel like for the first time, people are seeing me teach, because usually I'm teaching and they're in LEAP meetings and nobody knows what the heck I'm doing. So now everyone's seeing it, and I feel I'm proud of my school for recognizing like what I can contribute and not pushing me to do more when other people can do it, and letting me sort of be provide the resource that I'm able to provide.
Yeah, that's great. Mary Ellen.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen. I'm at Mary McLeod Bethune 16th Street, and I am just going to echo my other Mary McLeod Bethune teacher, Aisha.
Hello.
Hey. We are really far along with the process, and we even get to have spring break, which starts this week. So yay!
That's awesome. Colin.
Hi, I'm Colin, pre-K teacher at Horseman, and I can only speak from what I know because I haven't had any face contact with most of my staff since the 17th. But I think just as far as, you know, the first week when we started distance training, the emphasis basically was connection. So not necessarily getting work done, but just checking in with families and making sure, are you okay? Students, are you okay? And I think from there, just kind of building everything kind of gradually from the ground up. So really it's just been more or less just getting trying the best we can, just getting a routine somewhat as far as when we meet with students and having small groups and connecting with students individually. And to the point now where it's still frustrating because I think every week for the last few weeks, there's been something new that has kind of thrown a wrench in the works. But I think the beauty of it is that we've had to learn, I think it's forced us to kind of really focus on the families and what they need and adjust as needed. So I think it's just this kind of this cyclic thing of checking in with the families, figuring out what we need, going back to our teams to figure out, okay, what can we do better, implementing it. And so having that back and forth, I think with staff and parents has been key as far as helping us get through this.
Yeah, that's
really
great.
That.
Jamal and then Liz. I'll be right back. Jamal and then Liz.
Okay. So with my school, because we teach adults, it is a bit of a technological gap. And I guess we're all trying to like adjust with that. Like a lot of my learners are like in their 60s or so. So like the whole technology era is still something we're all trying to cover and teach them. But we're also, since we work on like a quarter system, we're actually on break for now. We finished maybe like a week ago, and then we'll start up again in like 2 weeks for the spring block. So hopefully during that time, we're going to figure out how to like actually get our learners like in the system and acclimated to all the systems that we're going to have to like teach them on. But otherwise, I've been getting a lot of emails. Everyone's checking in. Our school has been having very regular like community meetings. So we'll have like large calls and people will get to ask questions, have questions answered, and just kind of appraise where they are mentally and emotionally. So it's been very interesting building like a community amongst the other.
Yeah. Thanks. Liz Koenig.
Hi, I'm Liz Koenig. I'm a preschool teacher at LaSalle Bacchus Education Campus.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, around the block neighbor.
Hi. See, I told you my neighbor had invited me. Thank you.
And I'm here. We're saying something we're proud of our school for doing, or for us, or what?
Either one.
I mean, our school has been consistently focused on Microsoft Teams since day one, so I've had to learn how to use it, but I feel like that's an advantage and a disadvantage. So I'm proud of them for at least sticking to one message, Microsoft Teams, and that we didn't have to like switch from Zoom or anything, so that was nice. I'm proud of myself for putting out content every day this week. We're doing a really slow rollout to our families because we've had a lot of trouble reaching families and getting them connected. But you know, I miss teaching. So I've like put up a teaching lesson, no matter who's seeing it. I don't know how many of my students are really accessing it, but I'm putting it out there into the universe. So.
Awesome. Thanks. Francesca.
To unmute. Hi, I'm Francesca. I teach first grade at Murray Reed. I think it's been nice that my school has been very flexible and hasn't put any extra requirements on top of the DCPS one. So they've let us be really flexible and creative with things. But there's also a lot of collaboration going on, like across grade teams and content areas. So it's not like you totally have no support. So it's been nice to have the flexibility.
Yeah. Rhonda.
Hey everybody. All right, so for us, I mean, it's going. We have been able to create for the pre-K team. 3 out of our 5 classes, we're working like jointly to like communicate to our families like different activities and online resources. So we're using Seesaw to do work, but we're also like just kind of providing resources and doing kind of like what Colin talked about earlier, like this kind of like just check in and see how people are doing rather than just bombard with work. And that's going really well. Collectively, we're meeting like once a week as a school. And so there's a lot of like online meetings and then just kind of like touch and base. So those things are happening. And today I actually have reached my final family. I had reached like a grandparent, but finally reached the parents. So that was cool. So I'm in contact with all of my students' families at this point, which is really good.
What school?
Turner Elementary in Southeast.
Thank you. Crystal.
Hi, everybody. I'm Crystal. I'm at Garfield Elementary School. I teach first grade. One thing that's going well is administration, kind of hearing the staff out, because when we first started, we were doing live instruction for 3 hours a day. And during one of our meetings, we kind of just brought up like some alternative ways that we could reach students and families. And we were really surprised to get an email back like, we heard you guys and here's some modifications we're going to make to that schedule. So that was kind of nice.
Nice. There's a lot of flexibility going on, which are like, Irma.
Hello. So same thing, we're actively meeting once a week. We actually went live in terms of digital instruction this week. So for me, because I do SPED, I've been able to facilitate my one-to-ones, and so far so good. Like everything's been going fine. I was able to kind of read between the lines when certain things were kind of flowing down the pipe. So the things that I sent home for the first 2 weeks when we were kind of like resourcing it, figuring it out, I'm very happy that my family felt that it was meaningful and they actually had something that they felt was of value. So that was really good. And I actually oversent work. So they still kind of go between that as well as I'm doing direct services one-to-one. I guess those are the things that are going well. Things that aren't going so well is I don't think that it's very clear, like with teacher expectations, because you kind of have teachers. I understand we have to be flexible, but there's some classes that are doing the direct instruction, which the families are really, really appreciative of. And then you have some that are not doing any direct instruction online and they keep on posting videos. So the kids aren't really getting that one-to-one engagement with the teachers or even like in a classroom kind of environment. And some of the parents, pretty much all the parents want it, but everybody's not facilitating that way. So again, just I guess them trying to figure it out, where with me, it's a little different where I have to do the direct instruction, but it's just one child at a time. So that makes it a lot easier for me.
Got it. Thank you. Armand. Mr. Cuevas, are you there? Trini?
Hi, everyone. My name is Trinae McDonald. I work at Garrison. I'm a second grade ELA teacher. I guess some things that are going well at my school. Like Francesca was saying, my principal is very flexible and he has been really flexible with us and allowing us to take the approach that we feel is most beneficial for our students. And so for second grade, me along with my partner teacher, we've been posting YouTube videos every day. I've started a class on Edmodo where I'm able to post like readings for them and like comprehension questions. And engage and get feedback through that. We do like a Zoom call every Friday, and then we just do 2 touch points of communication per week. So that can be a phone call, an email, a text message, a Zoom, or like a FaceTime. So we've been utilizing all of those different resources to communicate with the families. I guess the only thing that we are trying to figure out is how to hold students accountable for their learning, and like with the whole grading situation and making sure that students are completing work. I think we have about 60% of our students right now, which it feels like a win because there's like 17 or 18 students that are constantly turning in assignments. So it feels good, but there are also like 13 students who are not completing work on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So we're just trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to Armand.
So hi, I'm Armand. I'm a 9th grade Algebra 1 teacher at Dunbar High School. And right now what's going well is I feel like admin is very supportive, and a lot of teachers are working together to like figure out, okay, well, like how can students best access the material? We're now going all in for Microsoft Teams, but a couple of teachers are also doing Instagram, including myself. So that's been pretty good. And it's a struggle trying to get a lot of teachers a lot of students bought in, and we're still trying to reach them all. But that's just a work in progress.
Yeah. Is Mauricio there? Okay, and Valentina.
Hey everyone, I'm Valentina. I teach at a school in Alexandria, and mostly am help to do all the programming around community engagement, community service, and social entrepreneurship, which has been interesting to respond to those needs, and trying to liaison between creating new programming around basic needs and responding, continuing learning, technology, and all that stuff, and older adults and care and companionship, and just proud of the ways that people are amidst these times, also extending their generosity and showing up for others, and especially the teachers, social workers in our school system there. It's just, and also in the school system here in DC, I mean, all of you and all the stories that you're sharing, it's just the 1,010% that everyone is putting in. There'd be a lot of lost kids and families without teachers and social workers right now and school leaders. So I'm feeling really grateful for the educators and education leaders in our community.
Thank you. And Valentina is on EmpowerEd's board. And Ben, are you there?
I am. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben. I teach 12th grade U.S. government at Capital City Public Charter School. We also kind of transitioned very quickly, but have been adjusting pretty well with the amount of communication that we have with families and the expectations around like work expectations and direct instruction. I think we're still trying to figure out the how to continue meeting some families who have still been kind of MIA and that's very concerning. But one thing that's awesome and I'm really proud of is just the collaboration with our co-teachers across the board and across grade levels has been great. And then also our head of library sciences was able to create I don't know exactly what it's called, but we were able to mail out digitally a list of like individual assignments for each student. So they kind of have like their own personalized checklist that we're able to send them. That's been really helpful for high schoolers to kind of stay up to date with like what is due each day and what is due each week and like where to put missing assignments if they kind of fall behind. So it's taken a lot of collaboration and it feels really good that we were able to get them that.
Did I miss anyone?
How about you?
I'm doing all right.
What's your name?
What's up?
What's your name?
I'm Scott. Oh, sorry. I'm Scott Goldstein, the founder and director of EmpowerEd. Appreciate all of you and everything you're doing. I have 2 kids, 2 and 4. So one of them is in pre-K 3. I appreciate everything her teachers are doing to give the little video check-ins and talk to her when they can, and post some videos for some fun stuff we can do at home. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing in that way. For those who don't know me, I used to teach at Roosevelt High School before I started EmpowerEd and left to do this full time. It's been really awesome to hear from educators during all of this, and just and see everything that you're doing, and the things that are not going well, and we can help elevate a little bit. We had a call on Friday. We invited principals to come to talk about educator self-care and empowerment during this COVID-19 crisis, so they can we could kind of share from them some tips about how to care for their educators during this time, and share from them what we've heard from surveys about how you all are dealing with this and what you need from school leaders. So I think that was really great. It was also really great to hear from them the kind of what they're trying to do. We talked about how they can try to approach teacher appreciation, even though folks probably won't be in the building, how they can do some kind of self-care work and kind of support their educators, and think about teacher leadership development during this time, just kind of checking in with folks about their career goals, and what skills you want to develop while you're out, and just being really flexible with people about, this is what we want, but this is not necessarily when and how you have to do it. So we had a really great conversation with a lot of principals across DCPS and charter schools, and then a lot of people who weren't on that call who followed up and we talked to. So it was great to get that angle in. And then, can folks see me?
Yep.
It looks like the box is off. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so and then the other thing that I think has been really great during all this is, the media has been really interested in telling the story of teachers. So the first week and a half or so of this, I spent most of my time connecting all the reporters to teachers who wanted to share stories. And if you don't mind me pointing out, Aisha was one of those who was featured in a really great city paper feature of different kinds of workers in DC and how they were going through this time period. And I know several others, like Rhonda, and I might be missing someone, have talked to the Washington Post, the city paper, CBS, ABC, the other stations about what this has been like. So it's been really great to just make sure your voices are heard during this, and people know all that you're trying to balance and all that you're going all out to do right now. So I know that took a lot of time to go through the check-in, but I think it's really important because the main reason we're here is really to check in with each other. We have a little bit of an agenda, but some new folks are on. We wanted to get to know each other a little bit, for you all to see each other, to know that we're still connected. And so that's why we wanted to meet today. I'm going to go through some other things. I'll try to go fast. And then leaders of the different groups, I'm going to just have you real quick introduce what your group is and what you're working on this year, so the folks who are new have some sense of that. And then we'll kind of brainstorm maybe how that's going to change or how we'll update that for the rest of the year. So real quick, Ben or Liz Rosenberg, could you want to share something about the teacher retention work?
Sure. It looks like Ben just disappeared, at least on my screen.
Yeah,
So there he is. Ben, feel free to jump in too. But we had our Zoom call. We're working on teacher retention. So we presented the most recent report from the State Board of Education on why teachers are leaving. And then we also talked about a project that we're working on, which is this idea of floating PD. So teachers would get time during the school day to go visit other classrooms. A way to empower teachers. The best way we learn is actually seeing it in action. So we created just a one-pager for teachers to take to their administrators so that they can get buy-in for doing this. DCPS, unless you heard anything else, Scott, it's still in discussions for contracts for next year, which is awesome. But charters, it would be on a school-by-school basis. So if anyone has not heard of this yet, works at a charter and is interested in bringing this to their admin, let me know, put your email or something in the chat, and I can send you the one pager, or Scott can, or Ben can. And so that's what we've been working on.
And this, so I want to say, I'll reference this a few times, but I just had a call with someone at the deputy mayor's office today. They were on the call, that Zoom on teacher retention. They were really interested in the idea of floating PD and how they can help us promote it. So I think we're going to gain some traction there, both working with the State Board of Education, who's been really interested in this, and then the deputy mayor's office. And I think, and I think, you know, what they mentioned to me on the call was that they also saw this as a really promising way to develop mentorships in a more organic way, which is one of the things we promoted, right? There's a lot of times when we try to like set up formal mentorship programs that don't necessarily work out because people are just kind of paired randomly. Instead of forming organic relationships based on someone they want to learn from. And that's really the idea of the floating PD. You pick who you want to learn from, what expertise you want to gain, you follow that course, you kind of report back and bring those things into your teaching. So Liz, if you type your email address in the chat, Liz can share the floating PD one pager, or Ben, with anybody who's on here. This is a really great time, by the way, to pitch your school leaders on things you want. I think everyone is kind of in a position right now of thinking, like there's a lot of reflection time for folks. So there's a change you want at your school. There's something you want to implement. This is a really good time to be having a conversation with a principal. That's what I got from the principals during our call, that like this is a good time to be doing long-term planning. And I talked to another principal separate from the call yesterday who said, you know, I really want to try to do some of that future planning work now that we might normally do during a summer, because we have some time to think about those things, and teachers have some time when we do check-ins in a daily basis or a weekly basis to give me feedback. So I think this is a good time for a lot of that stuff. So I got a lot of emails over there, and hopefully everyone can start having conversations about the floating PD with their principals. Any questions about the teacher retention or floating PD work? And if anybody wants to talk at any time, feel free to do the raise hand or just put it in the chat, and I'll make sure you get a chance to jump in. The next one is our teacher diversity group. Giselle, Liz, Christine, anyone from that group want to start us?
You forgot Isa.
Isa, sorry. Isa.
I vote Isa to be our spokesperson. Let's see, what have we been doing? We've sort of been planning. We took back our Zoom meeting, town hall thing. We're having a happy hour on the 17th, Friday the 17th, really for all teachers, but more specifically teachers of color. Just want to give a space to celebrate all of the work that they are doing, especially during this distance learning time. We had a really great event. When was that event? I'm like totally lost and confused as far as the Latinx.
February.
I'm like, was it February? Was it January? I don't even know what month we're in right now. That the turnout was amazing and the feedback was really amazing. And we had a lot of people there who wanted to become a part of that push for the city to really get more Latinx teachers in the city. What else, ladies? What else am I forgetting?
I think that's it. Basically, that we've kind of turned our thoughts to really, our group was really kind of thinking about how to get teachers of color in to the profession and retained in our profession in our city specifically. And we've just kind of tried to turn it now during this weird period to more supporting diverse teachers in the city, because we think that they're probably shouldering more of the work as usual with diverse student populations. So that's why we're trying to do a virtual happy hour and also trying to fund teacher projects that need it.
And so we've kind of rebranded, organized a way that, so the work on a more diverse teaching force is very central to what EmpowerEd is doing. It's been one of the most consistent things we've worked on since we started. you know, we started this work, and, you know, the drive behind my founding EmpowerEd was about retaining teachers by giving them more voice. So teacher retention is central to what we do, and ensuring there's a more diverse teacher force, and we don't continue to see some of what we have seen, which is a huge reduction in the amount of Black teachers in the city, not representation among Latinx, Latino, and Hispanic teachers in the city. So that's been a big thing that we've been focused on since the beginning, and we want to make it even more central. So we're kind of going to create that kind of group within a group now, our Teacher Diversity Action Group now being the Diverse Teacher Core, and grow that group. And we put out this survey along with the teacher projects, and a lot of people have signed up to be part of that. And we're hoping we can grow this as kind of a group within a group in EmpowerEd that's really focused on diversifying the teaching profession in DC, but also primarily what the group has been focused on is supporting teachers of color in their work. And so that's why the idea to fund these projects. So if you look at, and I'll put this in the side right now, it's weareempowered.org/support fund. And I'm posting up there as we get stuff in, projects that people want funded. Please share these out if you have social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you can do to get the message out, so we can get some community folks to donate to teachers who need support for their students right now. So that's where we've been focused on that group. And then the happy hour on 5 p.m. on the 17th. And that'll be hopefully kind of a welcoming new people into working on this as well. I want to share one thing about Grow Your Own programs, which this group has been focused on promoting as well, which is the idea that people who go to school locally can join a Grow Your Own program, so that the city is supporting them to go to college in DC and become a teacher and become certified as a teacher, provided they stay in DC and continue to teach, and focusing on that in young people of color. It's another thing I talked to the deputy mayor's office about today, and it's one of the things they're most interested in promoting. And so our next step there is trying to get, there's a pilot between American University and Blue with DCPS right now for 9 students to be able to go to American. And the next step is we're looking at trying to expand that to a school that also has a Latino population, like Columbia Heights Education Campus, Cardozo, Roosevelt, one of those schools. So we're going to continue those conversations and figuring out ways to invest in and promote like a scholarship fund at the city level for students of color to become teachers in DC. So that's a big thing we're working on there. And Isa, just in like a minute or two, want to update folks on just what the Latinx campaign is and where we are.
Yeah, so the Latinx campaign was really focused around bringing to the forefront just the underrepresentation of Latinx teachers across the district, and particularly just like bringing to light all of like the facts and data related to how low the numbers are in our wards with really high populations of Latinx students. And so I'm already blanking on the date. I think it was in February, we had our Latinx town hall called Presente, and we had an amazing turnout. It was a lot bigger than what we had anticipated. Scott had to order like extra food. And one way that I like that Scott phrases it is that it's not like a controversial issue. It's just something that there hasn't really been like a collective push for or like a collective vision for. And so the town hall really brought people together to brainstorm what are those barriers and what ideas could we get in terms of like an action plan for the future of it. And some really great things came out of it.
So I'm also going to type into the sidebar right now the websites, weareempowered.org/Latinx, and you can see the report. You can see it in English and Spanish, the recommendations that are at the end of it, and a lot of ways people can get involved in it. This is the hard copy of the report here. And at the end of the report, there's actually a like roadmap for the different agencies. So you see like mayor and council, DCPS, OSSI, and all the steps they can take individually to further this goal of representation. And so we're just working with each of the agencies now to do that. Spanish-speaking staff at the agencies, paying visa costs for immigrant teachers. So we're working step by step through these things, trying to make progress there. So it's been really successful. So I want to go to culturally responsive teaching, Colin and Trini. Colin, I think you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. I'm so used to turning it off for my students, not for myself. So I will admit, I kind of dropped the ball on this just due to social distancing. But what we had planned before social distancing started was to have a Zoom town hall connecting with a couple of organizations to help us kind of connect with teachers who I wouldn't say are experts, but are familiar with of how they've integrated cultural responsive teaching in their classrooms and within their schools. The idea is meant to empower, just to give teachers who are interested some ideas, but also ways that they can empower either themselves and maybe their administration as far as to promote that more in schools. So, and again, dropped the ball, but we did have a date, but I think we might need to collaborate and rethink when that's going to be, we haven't met since our last meeting.
So I'm dropping into the sidebar the survey that group came up with, a culture responsive teaching survey that you all can send to people at your own school community. We already have more than 100 responses on it from teachers across the district, which is their starting point to figuring out kind of where we are in this issue. So props on that, and we'll certainly start looking at the results soon. We have starting to have a good sample size there, and yeah. So I also wanted to address both for the culturally responsive teaching group and the last one, the budget equity group, that it's a whole new world with all these issues right now. People's attention is on COVID-19 and the response and everything that's going on there, and so I think another thing is we want to still hold these sessions, but we want them to be relevant to what's going on now, and not seem totally out of left field. We're just like continuing on like nothing's happening. And so I think just thinking about how we cater each one, like the teacher diversity one, moved it to the 17th, and they thought about how to rebrand it as kind of a happy hour, a welcoming to joining this effort. So kind of thinking about what people need right now and how you can tie that to your issue. So Colin will follow up on rescheduling and how we think about putting that back on. And then I want to say, as a precursor to Jamal, Crystal, Chanel is not on the call because she had another commitment this evening, but she's also on the budget equity group. For the budget equity issue right now, it's a really hard time, right, for budget equity, because the city suddenly, went from having a surplus to having a $600 million deficit in 4 weeks. So even maintaining the funds for our schools is a struggle right now, but we need to fight for it. We need to fight to make sure there's at least the commitment from the mayor, the city council, that we're going to keep the increase that they pledged to keep for next year. All these additional asks, we're still going to push for things, but we know that the budget is hard right now for everybody. There's going to be a lot of cuts to important things. So we want to keep pushing to make sure the things we know our schools can't lose get included. So with that, Jamal, any updates on your group?
No, there haven't been any updates. And after I finished the videos, which we did finish, and Scott, I assume you downloaded them. I downloaded them on my computer. But yeah. So finish the videos, and then it was
explain the video real quick.
Oh yes. So there were 2 different videos that I made. The first one was more so about just how the process for school budgets break down, like where the pockets of money come from for each school. And then the second video is more so about how to hold your individual school accountable. So made those through our program that we use, finished them, and the idea was that we're going to present them at the summit to kind of be like a conversation starter. However, obviously, since the summit got postponed and seems like everything else kind of got put on pause, the videos haven't gotten as much use as we would like to hope. So with that, unfortunately, I wasn't even really sure, because also, as you just said, the timeline for being invested in these meetings and going to these conversations is now also kind of indefinitely on hold. So
yeah,
I'm not even sure where to go with that.
So we're going to follow up on those 2 topics. We'll think about how to restructure what we're asking for and when, and what the timeline is for holding a session virtually. But I think we still want to make sure those topics continue. There is interest, folks have reached out about when are the rest of your sessions from the summit happening. So we'll find a way to schedule that stuff out and make sure folks are engaged. But we've had things happening every week, so I'm really proud that everybody's kind of continued some of this work, given how difficult things have been. Any questions about any of those groups? Those are the 4 active groups we have right now. So I want to bring up a couple other things from the call with the Deputy Mayor's office today. One is they are looking to hold an educator town hall and want to partner with us to bring in educators for that about a bunch of issues, housing, transportation, other supports that educators need right now. They also want some help on what topics should be on the agenda. So if you are interested in being part of that and also helping us get some other educators to join it, let me know. But real quick, everybody can throw into the chat, what's an ideal time for them to hold that? They want our feedback on like when. We solicited feedback for this and it was still helpful to do it at, around this time, but let me know like what times in the day you think are best for them to hold an educator town hall. If you could just drop some times into the chat there. And then I'm going to talk about a couple other things real quick. So one of them is for next year. So EmpowerEd has kind of 2 parts. One is doing all of our advocacy work on all the issues you just heard about. The other part is working with schools directly to help them improve teacher retention by improving adult culture, having more positive adult culture, educator self-care, sharing leadership. And so with that in mind, this is the season for us to try to recruit schools to work with us next year on that. And that was part of what we talked about with principals on the principal call that we had last week. So there's 2 main things I wanted to throw out. One is schools that we're going to work with intensively, like a year-long partnership, starts with self-care, relational trust building in the adult community, how to share leadership, asset mapping expertise at your school, empowering teachers to take on leadership roles. So it's a year-long commitment to that. It's a little more costly for schools, but it's still not much compared to most of the stuff schools do. And so if you feel like your school is a good fit for that, let me know. And then the other thing is, and this is kind of the main ask, we're putting together a cohort of 8 to 10 schools next year to explore those topics as a cohort. Instead of deep work with the whole school or staff at your school, it would be like 3 to 5 people at your school come to a monthly meeting with a bunch of other folks from different schools. And it would have to be the principal and then 3 to 5 staff people. And it'd be monthly meetings. So Mary Ellen participated this year with Mary McLeod Bethune, just piloting this year. And we had 4 schools, 2 schools really deeply invested and 4 schools coming to some of the meetings over the course of this year to pilot this. But basically we'll be working on the same ideas, building trust, adult culture, shared leadership at your school, managing teacher time, all of that. And that'll be an interesting conversation now, I think, with new lessons learned from this virtual age. So I think that I would love folks to reach out if they're interested in their school and their principal might be open to it, to participating in that. Let us know. We probably want 4 or 5 DCPS and 4 or 5 charters. And Isa asked about some outcomes from the pilot. Mary Ellen, do you want to say anything that's happened at Bethune as a result?
Yeah, so as a result of it, like there's more communication between me and my school leaders. They've been more willing to let me like lead different PDs on my campus and for more collaboration. So and it just feels like, it doesn't feel like an us against them situation anymore. That's kind of like what you want to see in your admin, that you're being more collaborative.
And I also just want to add, it might have been small, but an early step, the first thing they committed to after our first session was to make a teacher's lounge, which they did not have, and they did that. So that was a
teacher's lounge, yes, we do, and it's pretty nice. It's got a TV even.
So Liz asked about talking points to admin for sure, but there's a packet which has like all of our PD options in it that I just finished for next year. So I will send everyone that packet. Which has a few pages about this, including testimonials from people who did it this year. Garrison, Trini is at Garrison. I don't know if you want to say something. Trini wasn't in the group directly, and and Christine, who were not in the group directly, but we worked with the group at Garrison, and the principal was super invested there, and that team really did a lot of work. And I don't know if either of you have an insight into how it impacted things, but.
Well, this is my second year at Garrison, and I'm obsessed with my principal. I think he's amazing. He is definitely a teacher's principal. He's always asking for feedback, suggestions, ways for him to grow. And I mean, I felt like he was that way last year too, but he's definitely been like, it's a real team effort at Garrison. And it's just an amazing place to work because you feel valued and respected. And I'm sure that he talked a lot about the work that the team did with EmpowerEd. And the principal was really, really amazed with the work, and the other teachers who were involved really appreciated it as well. So I know it made a big impact, and it's a wonderful place to work where you feel respected and valued by your administration.
There were two principals who were really invested throughout the time, and both of them are still invested and want to do more. And there was a third one who took part in the early part of it, who wants their school to do more next year in it. So good results from the people who did participate in it. And Gregory had a question about who's staying at their school next year and able to continue this work. I don't want to make people say that right now on here, but I do have that question if people want to send feedback, because I've been talking to a lot of people. Some principals have asked me, how do you think this is going to affect our retention? And I think in some ways it cuts both ways. I'd love to hear from you for a couple minutes. On one hand, I know, like I've heard, there's a lot of gratitude from teachers because you have a job. A lot of folks don't have a job right now. You have a steady job. You get to stay connected to people, even if it's virtually. There's a lot of folks in difficult positions right now. On the other hand, it's a time where people are alone a lot and reflecting, and you kind of need the energy of being with people, and that's difficult. Any thoughts on how this might impact retention for you or others?
My initial thought was that like the process of at least switching to a different school in the district would be really difficult in this time, just because like principals generally want you to do a model lesson, and obviously that's kind of impossible right now. So I'm curious if, like from the principal perspective, how they would even go about like hiring someone at this time.
Yeah.
So I can give you some insight into that. Principals are still actively looking, and they are conducting interviews through the regular process. It's just all done virtually. I've done panel interviews, I've done mock lessons, I've done it all, and I've done it all virtually. So the process is actively continuing for a number of schools.
And when you do lessons, is that like you record yourself and then?
No, the actual panel becomes the classroom.
Oh.
So they it depends on the school. They may assign, a couple of teachers to be on a panel to be the students. And so you do your mock classroom that way. Or it could be your actual interview panel. It depends on how the school is planning on doing it.
It's a whole new world. That's an interesting way to, do a mock lesson. Any other thoughts on retention?
I would think from like a psychology perspective, teachers would not want to leave. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think like everything is unknown right now, that if a teacher was thinking about leaving their school, like that is the one thing that is consistent. So maybe that's just my own thinking, but I would think you want to just hold on to what you have. Even if like someone did want to leave, they would say, I'll wait until next year.
Yeah.
And like I would think too, like even for like the principals, like they would want to make sure that they keep everybody at the school because I think there's so many unknowns that like hiring new people and trying to onboard them could be difficult on top of and already like unknown, like not only unknown with like this school year, but also with next school year in terms of like what's gonna happen in the fall with like all of us too as like teachers. So I mean, like I would think that like turnover would not be as intense just because of everything happening right now.
Yeah. So I want to just really quickly, we have 5 minutes left. What are the challenges for you right now? Throw them in the chat. We'll just light up the chat real quick. And what's really been challenging for you in your school in this time? People are asking for that feedback. I want to be able to give them a good sampling here. Both for you personally and for you and your school, like as you're trying to conduct your distance learning. So I'll give you a minute of silence here to just throw a comment in about that. And then we'll come back for a couple minutes.
Hey, I guess I'll throw myself out there. For me, our biggest challenge was just guidance. A lot of this is kind of float as we go, which I feel like a lot of people are in a similar boat. But like the hardest part for me personally is just kind of figuring out what questions to ask, but kind of doing the work. So kind of a lot of the questions that I have that like is my most difficult things are kind of going through the process with not a lot of guidance in terms of what's expected and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess personally for me, I have a pre-K4 and a third grader at home. So my 4-year-old demands a lot more, and then just being in that age bracket, a lot more what they do is more consumable based. So making sure that I'm providing meaningful instruction and things for her, because we're getting ready for kindergarten next year. So just making sure that there aren't a lot of gaps there for her. So having that balance between my work expectations and what I have to do to support my own child is very, very difficult. And just from a school perspective, because I am in a school that is growing a grade every year, I'm very nervous because you already have the uncertainties of a school community that is growing. And now you've been hit with all of this. So what are they doing in all of this hysteria to still be proactive for next school year in terms of hiring those teachers? There are some teachers that I personally and professionally don't think need to return next year. So even with that, right? So do we hold on to them for the sake of having a body, or do we make hard choices for the better good of student outcomes in the end?
You know, it's interesting. You know, data is going to be a mess. It's all going to have this 1-year gap in it. It's going to be hard to determine trends. I know they already said they're not going to do star ratings for this year and a whole lot of other things. I'm hoping there's a silver lining to that, which is we see the data isn't as meaningful as we sometimes, that kind of data might not be as meaningful as we sometimes try to put on it, right? And that what's really meaningful is the connections we make with families, the education that's happening every day, the relationships you have with your students, and that all that good stuff will keep happening, even if we're missing a year of data in there. But I do think that it is really important, like just looking at the stuff you guys are talking about, I think what's really been impressive, and I think it's made an impact, I think, on policymakers, is the extent to which all of you are just checking in with people, just like treating people as people first, and checking in with their needs. And making sure that people know what their needs are. There's a lot that the city's going through right now. We don't, there's a lot of uncertainty about when this is going to end and how it will end and what it's going to look like to come back. I'd also love your feedback on, I'm not going to do this right now, but, one possibility is that they've extended the health emergency until June 8th now in DC. So it looks unlikely that school would happen, before the end of the typical school year. But Mayor Bowser did say on a call with educators yesterday that that one possibility is, coming back in summer, some kind of modified summer schedule before next year, or some kind of optional extended year program, or right. I think they're looking at a lot of different things they could do if it's possible to come back by then. And so your thoughts about like what the city should be thinking about as it makes those decisions would also be really helpful, and making sure they're hearing from teachers on that. I'm going to close out so we can be on time, but I just want to do some final reminders. One is, last thing I'm going to ask you to put in the chat right now. Are there topics we should be hosting webinars, chats, virtual sessions on that are not our regular groups, but you think people need to hear from educators right now about? That's either related directly to coronavirus, or just a topic you think is really relevant right now, like digital equity, for example, right? That there's a whole group working on that, so that might not be our thing to do. But topics that are really relevant right now that we should be hosting something on during the duration of this year. So please throw something in there while I finish up the last few announcements if you think of anything. So just to review, the floating professional development, if you can pitch that to a principal, especially if you're at a charter school, but even DCPS principals probably have some flexibility to do that without it being in the contract, but giving you hours, right, to do that, or doing it during PD days within your school. And then pitching principals on potentially working with us on self-care and, positive adult culture work at your school. The continued, the interest in doing a town hall for the deputy mayor. And so you can put that in the chat or email me or text me separately if you're interested in being part of the deputy mayor's town hall or in helping planning that town hall for educators. And then scheduling out the rest of our sessions, culturally responsive teaching and budget equity, that we're going to be part of our summit. So I'll close there, put any topics in the chat, and real quickly before we go, any questions about anything we've talked about tonight, or for the folks who are new, any questions about what we're up to and anything else you wanted to learn? Sorry, Laura, you're muted.
It was good to just listen and see, understand what the group was about. I had been invited to the promotion or of getting more Latinx teachers. So I thought that's all it was. And now I'm seeing that it's a whole citywide movement to make teachers' lives better from many different perspectives. And I'm really glad you all are out there. And thank you. Thank you to everyone who's been doing this really important work.
Thank you. Anyone else? Love you all. Thank you for everything you're doing. You guys are great. And thank for so many people for joining on this, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, neighbor.
Bye, Liz.
She's gone.